Welcome back, guys. We are Project Gacked, and we are finally back. It has been long awaited. It has been what, like 6 months? You reckon?
It's been a while.
Yeah, probably longer than that, if anything. But we are finally back, and we're glad to be back with a nice and fresh perspective, good mindset. Let's fill in the crowd, the audience. What have we been doing? Anybody want to go first? I can go first if you guys are a bit scared.
Yours is like a one sentence kind of explanation.
How about I go first, and then
Uh-huh.
you guys can fill in like what you think about it. All right.
So he stays at home.
Shut the fuck up. All right. Sorry.
House husband. Hey man,
Sorry.
That's a
House.
tough job, right?
I respect that.
You know, this house is pretty clean, so I will say that. I'll give you a pass for
Not
that.
anymore. We got a 2 hour running around. But yeah, life has been a little bit. I feel like a lot hasn't been happening. Like I haven't gone out as much, and I probably haven't been going to events as frequently. We barely see the boys. We probably don't meet up as frequently either. And if we do, we're watching Instagram reels on a TV. But I also do feel like a lot has happened in my life. This is the first time I can comfortably say after a year that I've grown, and I can confidently say that. I think this is the first time ever. Normally, when a year goes past, you would look at it and you'd be like, oh, has this improved? What can I do better? Is there things that I need to reorganize in my life and really change? And normally I would say yes, but this time around it's a significant difference. Like I've really focused on my health, and I've really understood the things that I care about in my life, and really respected my priorities and my boundaries, and even the people that are around me. I've kicked some people out, literally, and I'm sorry. And obviously, my relationship with those people are still the same, and we still care about each other. But for the time being, you have to really prioritize yourself, and I've got to grow, and I've got to do my own thing, and it's good, and I'm really thankful that all of my friends and the support around me have been very respectful of that. So, although a lot hasn't been happening in terms of physical activity and events, a lot has changed in my life, and a lot of my life has benefited from that. If I were to say anything, I think what we're trying to aim for now is to kind of help people find that same direction in their life too. Kind of understand more about themselves, under- ask yourselves more of those confronting questions that we normally don't ask ourselves, so we can find the answers to maybe the things that haven't been going so well, or maybe the things that will make our life abundantly better. If that makes sense. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with that? Do you think I've changed as a person? Do you think this is all worth it?
I mean, hindsight is 2020. We'll only find out after like another year or so.
He's praying on my downfall.
I'm your biggest supporter. I'm also your biggest hater. But you need that. You need that.
It's tough love.
It is tough
I
love.
think you need that tough love sometimes.
And I'm not loving that your freezer isn't filled with snacks anymore, so I might not come over as often, that's for sure. No, it's good. I think it's a good direction. I think we're definitely. I think we still do enjoy going to raves and going out and partying, but it's a little less with that now, and more so just focusing on not the grind per se, but personal growth and actually moving towards a direction that we want to go to, instead of peaking in the back part of smokers.
Yes.
I got that out. Cut
Well, I'm
that
still
out.
kind of down to do that though.
One of the things that I probably have noticed from us not going out to these events as much anymore is that when you do go, it just means a lot more to you, or
Oh yeah.
you seem to have a much greater
Appreciation.
for being able to go and do those sort of things. And I think it just comes back down to if you're going to the clubs or you're partying every week, it loses that value.
It's not special.
It's not special. And then I feel like because everyone here has kind of been going in their own separate directions, focusing on work, career, and those sort of things. When you work really hard, you can really enjoy that time off where you just get to let loose a little bit. And I think it just shows a bit of perspective that, it was nice when we weren't working as much and we got to go traveling, 5, 6 times a year. But now when you are settled down and it doesn't happen as frequently, it means so much more.
I think for me, because I've been working a lot and prioritizing my work and career over going out when I do have free time, even just when it comes to like coming over to Brand's place, playing games, or to the other end of that, going to a rave. Like last year, we went to
Paradigm Black.
Paradigm Black. I actually sit there for a second. I'm like, I'm very thankful and very what's the word for it?
Just grateful.
Grateful, and I feel like I'm more in the moment when it comes to appreciating the moment instead of just like, oh, it's another trip to Melbourne, or it's another trip to Sydney for knockout or KO. It's like this is like a nice reward for for working my ass off for the last 4 months.
I would say that's a really big rabbit hole to fall down into as well. Hey, like that rave rabbit hole is deep. Once you get started, it's really hard to pull yourself
But I think it
out
goes
of
for
it.
it goes for everyone. Like all the young guys that are getting into raving now, they'll definitely want to go to every event, and then give it 2 years, they'll be like us, where they are really appreciate and more selective of where they go.
Mm.
And
Do you
so
think that's just like
I think that's a cycle.
the general cycle? Hey,
Unless like your career is based around like the Melbourne guys from No Sleep, those guys, their kind of career path is kind of intertwined when it comes to rave. Like they kind of had to be at every event to do promos or whatever, or sell bottles, sell. I don't know, but but you know what I mean. It's like they're intertwined with it, so they can't separate. Whereas we were more the casual. We kind of just enjoy it for what it is
Mm.
and selectively go whatever.
Yeah. How do you think this all started? I think that's a big question for most people because we want you guys to start thinking about these certain things. Although we love raving, although we love going out, yeah, we're still going to knockout at the end of the day, even though we post a lot of videos saying that it's okay not to go. But these are the free times that we enjoy with our friends and the company that we have. But where does it even start? How do you say after going to 6 events a year, hey, maybe it's time to knuckle down? Does it take for something to happen in order for you to think that way, or is it just do you force yourself to think that way? Is it like, okay, now it's time to start really prioritizing my life? How do you think we came about it in general? For my example, anyway, um, I had a moment in my life where I just realized that I wasn't really where I wanted to be, and I'm a really ambitious person, so I've got goals in really high places, and that are to probably normal society are not really achievable in a sense. But when you have those ambitions and you're really looking out to achieve those goals, you have to put yourself, one step at a time and really find the structure and the process into to being that person that you always envision being. So in the course of that, I realized that maybe spending the money on raving probably just wasn't worth it for me. Spending the time on raving, and when you go on holidays, when you go out to a rave, and when you take you're out for like 2, 3, 4 days maybe. You got to experience the come down, and you got your people would say post rave depression and all that. You spend a lot of time thinking about events, but preferably at that point in time I realized that I can't keep focusing on events. I'm already focusing on Valorant. I'm already focusing on my health. I've got a whole bunch of things. I'm focusing on my partner, etc. So it's just not, there's a bit in my life here where it's taking up a lot of my time, and I had to weigh up the differences and the worth of it, the risk to reward. And it came to a point where I was like, me and my friends, fortunately, although we're in different directions, we've definitely got a total major goal between all of us to have an abundance of freedom and a lot of time to spend it with each other, and maybe just to be more comfortable financially, so we don't have to stress about a lot of things. So putting that in place and focusing on those things, we've just started to grind and put one feet in front of each other and work towards those things. So yeah, that's how I would say mine came about anyway.
Mine came about when it's been about a year, no, about not last year, but the year before, when my uncle passed away, and that's when I was like, oh shit. Because before that, it was more so work, 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 save up, go to a rave, work, 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 save up, go to a rave. But now, when that event happened in my life, I was like, holy shit, I've forgotten about my family, I've forgotten about my roots, I've forgotten about pretty much a lot of things and I haven't prioritized any of that. And so now my goal is to go home, have a holiday, reconnect with my family, and that's what I'm working towards instead of going to a rave. And that's what put everything into perspective of what's important to me. Uh, to me, what's important right now is to go home and just reconnect with my family, not raves. Raves are still like at the moment because we're going to knockout and we'll probably go to another shock event like later this year, like the big one. I'm gonna work doubly hard till I don't have to. What do you call it? To bless you. I'm working doubly hard to make sure that I don't have to. What's the word? I don't have to sacrifice. I don't have to compromise.
Compromise.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I'm
that's a good
working
one.
super hard to do both, but at the same time, I'm slowing down on that going out part. That's pretty much it.
I think for me, it's just part of getting older, growing, maturing a little bit, I guess. Uh, when I first got into raving, I had a crazy year. It was fun, but I literally went to every event. And so what that looked like was going to carnival one month, and the next month going to like the next event to Midnight Mafia, and then Knockout, and then Epic, and then Transmission, and it was like it was fun. We had a lot of fun, and the thing is I think it just lost its value to me. It just didn't hit the same. I went to these events with this expectation that I was going to have, you know, the biggest, best, greatest time of my life. And I think just as you get older, priorities shift. The things that we might find a little bit more enjoyable, a little bit different. Like it's nice going to these events and there's, you know, 40, 50, 60,000 people there. But it's also just nice to sit down in my couch and to just stream the event live.
Mm.
So I think for me, it was more so just a shift in priorities, shift in goals, the things that I want to do, and the way that I want to spend my time. And I think what I found was that going to these events, I almost felt like I was living just for the weekend or living just for the rave. It was after one rave, looking forward to the next one and to the next one. And I think what I found was that rather than living in the present moment, I'd either be thinking back about how good or crazy, you know, the last event was or the previous event was, or looking forward to, you know, what's coming up and, you know, all the friends that are going to be there and how much fun we're going to have, instead of just being present right then and there and enjoying, you know, showing a bit of gratitude for what I already do have and get to enjoy every single day. So I think for me, it was just a change in perspective with life.
I gotta say as well, when you're thinking and chasing that dragon, that f***ing high of the next event, dude, life is like it goes by quick.
Hmm.
It really does. But before you know it, you go into HTID at the start of January, and then by the end of it, you go into what's the last event of the year?
Epic.
Epic, and it's
Yeah.
where did the year go? The whole year went to you chasing the next dragon, the next high, pretty much the next rave, and if you think about it, you know, that's not how you really want to live life. You're only in your 20s once. We're all in our 20s once, and I feel like I've enjoyed the last 3 years of my life, but now it's time to really appreciate what I have now before I start, you know, having that creaky back and that sore knees, and I'm in my 30s and 40s. Like,
I
yeah.
do think yeah, this one's a big one. A lot of ravers are probably gonna, not like us for what we're saying right now because, even in the music that people that they are making and they're producing, it's to live for the weekend and live for the rave. That's a really big aspect of being a hardstyle person is that, your identity slowly becomes just a raver, everywhere you go, especially when you go to Melbourne and Sydney, everyone's hacking or dancing at gyms and really expressing themselves. And I think that is awesome. I think that's the one thing that we really love about the rave community is how open they are to loving a certain genre of music and appreciating everybody else that is there at the events with them. The vibes are awesome. But at the same time, we come from a perspective here, not necessarily to tell people, hey, stop raving. That's not what we're trying to aim for. It's a balance. There's moderation at the end of the day. As much as we want to make our whole persona about raves or hardstyle, I think there's a open space in life and there's a lot of time in life to appreciate other aspects of it as well and learn to that, as you get older, more responsibilities come about and that opens more time for you to focus on other things as well and learn to appreciate those things, preferably over thinking it's a chore until I get to the point where I can rave eternally, right? And we're coming back to raving now after taking a little bit of a break. And like I just went to these guys didn't go, but we're going to knock out together. And yeah, as Will said before, you learn to appreciate those moments where you do get to go, but at the same time, appreciate the moments where you're at home and MCD, he plays basketball in his free time, or, he'll take care of his dog. And that's, it's two aspects of his life where there's probably many others, but he likes to spend a lot of his time doing those things and staying physically active, looking after your health, maybe taking care of your significant other, or maybe your parents. Maybe you do live with your parents and you want to make sure that they live, a long life as well. On top of that, and you want to help with maybe financial burdens, maybe you want to attack at your hex debt, whatever it is, you want to kind of push yourself further into your career. You see, there's so many things that you could possibly do, but when you're stuck in that rave rabbit hole, it's hard to pull yourself out of it and say, okay, well, I'm gonna spend time on this and also something else. You're just so caught up in the moment, And I feel like that's how I felt when I first started raving when I was 21 years old. The first 2 years of my rave career was, as we said, going to every single event possible, and every single dollar that we earned at that time went to only raving and traveling. In Sydney, when we travel from Brisbane to Sydney, right, we have to pay for accommodation, then flights, and then we don't eat cheap food. I can tell you now, we are definitely.
We don't sell for Macca's, that's for sure.
Yeah, and when we book apartments, we don't book just regular apartments. Like we have booked some of the best apartments that you could have seen. We've eaten the best of foods.
Cabra.
Dude, I take Ubers and I only take Premier Ubers, so I don't even take regular Ubers. So these trips get extremely expensive over time, and in hindsight, we look at that money, and although it was well spent and we enjoyed those moments, you do think later down the track that maybe I could have used that in a smarter way and made sure that I still had enough for me to live and push myself in my life further.
Well, have you guys ever heard the saying, it's living in the past makes you depressed, living in the future makes you anxious, but that's why you're meant to live in the present, and that's why it's a gift.
No.
Does that make
Master Uwe.
does that
Go, don't go, noodle.
No, but
We're
it's
so back.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
does that make sense to you guys, right? Like,
Yeah.
if you're always living in the past and you always think about what was, you're always going to compare, your present moment, and if it's not better than what you had in the past, you become really depressed. You're gonna be like, oh, I had that. I wish I could have it again, right? And that's all you're concerned about.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yeah. Living in the future, you're always going to be anxious about the next thing, right? Whereas if you're living in right here in the present moment, I feel like you can pick up on the small things that can give you a lot more joy than you realize.
Oh yeah.
Like for me, really excites me? Getting a lawnmower, getting a lawn trimmer, getting an edge trimmer, like getting a new vacuum. Like
what?
No, but it's like it's
It's the
those
small
sort of
things.
things, right? And it's like, some people might look at it and be like, "Oh, mowing the lawn is a real big chore." Yeah, it's a chore, but then in this day and age, with how the world is, I get to appreciate and be grateful for the fact that I have a lawn to mow.
Well, things are expensive.
And
Like
so-
if you were to get gym mowing to come down to your house, it does cost a lot
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So being able to afford the tools, to get you here to there and do what you need to do is actually a blessing in disguise. You might not see it at the time, but you just become more appreciative for those things as time goes on as well.
I don't know if Brandon's ever noticed as well, but with me these days, I'll just let's say I'm going to a client's
Eat a whole
house.
family feast by himself.
Whoa, hey, no. I only had a little bit. Like, I'll go to a client's place, I'll get out the car, and then I'll just look and I'll feel the breeze, look at the sky, and I'm like, man, it's a great day. I don't know if Brandon's noticed this, but I'll text him like, yo, it's a great day, man. I think you should go out for a walk outside.
I think at
It's not.
first it was a little bit weird because I was like, why is this guy texting me like this really wholesome at 9 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, after time goes on, you're like, oh yeah, the sky does look really nice
It's
today.
really nice. I saw this meme. It was like, is it me or is color coming back to my vision? Like after
Yeah.
2022, it's been kind of like been great. Like before lockdown, life was good, but now and then like the color got seeped away after during lockdown, and then I don't know. For me, life is like there's more color in my vision.
It's all COVID's fault.
Yeah.
This all happened because of COVID. But I think it's really nice to see. I don't think it's just us, to be fair, and I think that's why we've started to talk more about these things, and that's why we try to push this message an earlier stage of Project Gacked, because we do see that there's a lot of room for improvement, and we're starting to see more people do some introspection, look into themselves, and confront themselves and ask themselves some more deeper and meaningful questions in life. And we're starting to really see the growth of certain people who have lived very, I can't say mediocre, hey, but maybe less driven lives, less ambitious lives for the time being. And all of a sudden, they're starting to think about themselves and their future and maybe the people that are around them and how they might affect them. For example, we were looking at Lao.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, Leo cousin.
Was she funny?
Moga Moga
But,
cow.
yeah.
I love that guy. I love that guy.
But in terms of character development, with and he's been pretty open about it from a past time. At that time, where he was quite young, there's a lot of is it
Substance abuse.
substance abuse at the time? Is
Was on that rock,
susceptible?
bro.
Is it susceptible to substance abuse? Because there's a lot of dealers on the street and they're trying to make money. It's an easy way to make money at the time. And just the crowd, the environment in the middle of Springvale and a lot of the Asian suburbs in Melbourne, that's just a regular thing. Just like how now we are at raves, and at raves this is a pretty normal thing. Like they're starting to get testing tents at raves because the government and themselves understand that this is just the harsh reality and the way that it is. But as you become more susceptible to those things, you have to start thinking about, like the effects that it has on your future. And those people, like for example, Lau at the time probably didn't really know that and wasn't really aware of it at the time. And now, probably 10 to 15 years later, has paid the price for it and is attempting to turn their life around. So there's a lot of people in today's day and age who have come across this realization, and we just want to be more vocal about it and be more open and honest in order for you guys who are watching us today or whenever to take us as an example and maybe use whatever we talk about and whatever we experience as a way to kind of direct yourselves and use it as advice in your life too. Hopefully, we're not the best, don't get me wrong.
Far from it,
Far
man.
from it. Yeah, definitely not. Like, if you've been looking at our posts over the last few days, they kind of rank, but like
Devious, man. I think
Yeah.
I think they're works of art.
That's what he
They
thinks.
should be played on a nice 55-inch Sony Bravia next to the Mona Lisa on constant repeat.
I think one of the things that you're pointing out, Brandon,
Yeah.
and I think like, you just need to come out and say it. And I think right now in 2025, one of the biggest pandemics that the world's facing is a mental health crisis, and it's just not a lot of people are addressing it. And I think the people that do address it do it in a do or die sort of fashion. It's you got to be Andrew Tate, and you've got to make the $1 million to be successful, or so forth. And what we're seeing right now is the rise of cheap and easy dopamine. Right?
Mm.
No one wants to work or struggle. Like, and fair enough, it's uncomfortable. No one likes being in a bad position. No one likes not having money. No one likes to be in a position where they can't afford to do things or they don't have the time to do things. But it's always when you work really hard, you go for a run, you get a really good dopamine hit,
yeah.
and it's because you know that
When?
you worked for it.
When? You're lying to me, bro. You're
30
lying
minutes,
to me,
30 minutes after running, we're like,
bro. When, bro? You're trying to gaslight me, bro. What is this, bro? What is this? Well, I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
you've got to work for it, and it's like, you know, you're seeing now. It's what is really accessible, like for most young men, rather than go out and try to date. It's
Dior
you've got
Sauvage.
you've got OnlyFans, you've got like all these other things
Yeah.
for them to simulate a
Yeah,
relationship. You know, no one wants to do the work into it anymore. And I think when you reduce your expectations of the world, of others, maybe sometimes even of yourself, right? You lower those expectations down, and
Sky's the limit.
you start to do that hustle and grind, and you try to work your way up through things. You try to upskill yourself. You try to learn about the world, learn about yourself, learn new things. I think that's where, you know, you're going to see, you know, the most growth, and you'll be the happiest.
Yep.
Because you know that you've done it yourself. You know, it's more empowering that way. You know, as much as I'd like to say, you know, I won the lotto. Can you imagine if you won the lotto and it's $40 million, right? Everyone's got problems. If you're broke, your problem is you've got to worry about paying for rent and those sort of things. If you're rich and you got $40 million that appeared out of thin air, what are your problems now? I've got no friends because everyone's asking me for money.
You don't know who's legitimate or
Yeah,
genuine
you're-
about their feelings anymore.
And that's the thing. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or you're poor. Everyone's going to have problems.
It's how you deal with those problems.
It's how you deal with it, right? And
Yeah.
so I think more so kind of like going back to what your situation is and, you know, what your circumstances are. What can you do and what can you make out of your situation? What can you make out of your circumstances and the current position you're in, whether it's financially, physically, mentally? What can you do? The world has so much to offer to you. It's all about the way that you perceive things, the thoughts that come into your mind, but rather, you know, the beliefs that in your values that you develop from your thoughts. You know, it's up to you to decipher what it is that you want for yourself.
I think that's a really big thing in the rave community as well. And as more events come out and they get more expensive and they get harder to access anyway, well, first of all, I'll go through this. There's been a big rise of superficial content creators in a way, not to call anybody out. And I think that, like, game is game at the end of the day. You know, you make your content, you do what you do in order to get clicks and views and brand promotions and things like that. And we wish we were in that spot, but we're not. But at the same time, I think we're
Yeah,
starting
we have morals.
That's crazy.
We have morals and liberty and honor.
Okay, that's not my point. But my point is we're starting to see a shift into a more genuine side of content creators, hopefully. And yeah, there's one extreme where it's Andrew Tate telling you to get the off your ass and start doing shit and, you know, live the greatest life you could possibly live. And then there's probably where we are at the moment, you know, to learn to still appreciate the certain things that you have in your life currently and learn to balance the fun things with the hard things.
Okay, so to summarize where we've been.
Oh yeah, what we've been doing is we've been staying away from raves, and not because we don't like raving, not because raving's not fun, not because raving is a bad place. Raving is a great place, great community, great space for everybody to learn to appreciate each other, to get along with good friends. That's how we all met at the end of the day. And if it wasn't for raving, we probably wouldn't have met each other, or we wouldn't have that common interest. So it's not to say that raving's bad. We don't want you guys to stop raving. I don't want HSU messaging me or emailing us saying,
Yo, bro, our sales have declined like 200%. What is this, bro?
You know, more importantly, I think I don't want another really diss track.
Project Gacked. That was... Oh, I'm sorry to that guy. Hey, I hope your music career is doing well.
It ain't.
We're going to have to cut that out.
Don't worry.
We're gonna have to
Anyways, yes, that's where we've been. Where are we going next? What's the next chapter?
Yeah, so the next
This-
chapter for Project Gacked, anyway, and I think what you would hope to see from our content in the next of over the next little while, we want to put a bit more emphasis on understanding the process to achieving your goals, achieving those things that you've always thought about but haven't really gotten around to. Because I feel like we were also stuck in that spot whilst we were raving, that constant and endless cycle of trying to go to each event and enjoy each event and test our limits at each event so we can enjoy it. And going
What
back to
kind?
that,
Push-ups or what?
nah, you know what kind. You know what kind. But at the same time, I think we also came to understand with more responsibilities that we can't live that lifestyle as much anymore. You know, as we get older, we feel those things a lot more than we used to. The recovery takes a lot longer, and it really strays us away from those higher objectives in our lives. So what we want to do is use ourselves as an example and maybe elaborate on the experiences that we have in our daily life in order to help some of you who are kind of interested in doing so as well, to kind of find a new outlook and a new perspective on life and maybe strive for your greater ambitions as well as we are. So that's one way to put it. And also, you can still expect interviews. We still plan to interview some of our favorite artists because I think it's a great example. They have gone through their fair share of ups and downs throughout their career. And I think they would have a great perspective on how they've combated those things in life in order to get to where they are. You know, they may not be Zed. They may not be the greatest DJ ever in terms of, because hardstyle at the end of the day is still quite niche, but they live the best quality of life that they ever imagined. You would ask some of them, and you would ask most of them anyways, and they would mostly say that they're happy. They're happy and they're proud of where they are today, and maybe they're still striving for more and they're still aiming for more, but they're working at it. And that's all it takes, is to continuously and slowly enjoy what you're doing, because you're getting to somewhere that you've always wanted to be, which is super awesome. And you don't realize that at first, and when you're young, you probably don't really think about it all that often. But there's a fair share of people out there that I believe have the same mentality and are coming towards the same realization that we have gone through as well. Another thing that I want to do is get you guys to understand where hardstyle plays a part in all this. We come from a hardstyle background. Most of the audience that we have is from hardstyle as well, which is super cool. And I think that hardstyle as a form of empowerment is quite noticeable anyway. When you look at hardstyle people, or people that go to hardstyle events, some of them are jacked. I've met a fair share of billionaires amongst the crowd and at kick-ons or etc. And they all have a really focused mindset, and they all have their priorities straight, and they all have really good structure and direction in their life. As much as you guys might meme on the morning routine guy, a lot of these people that we look up to and we idolize have a morning routine. They wake up in the morning and they get what they need to get done, and they prepare themselves for the day and the tasks that are at hand. And these are the things that we have not really thought about for a long time, since COVID. We've spent so much time trying to find enjoyment in our life and get those dopamine hits, and really just to help me.
All I'm gonna say is that as much as you want to be inspired, be motivated, and to strive to achieve these things, right? Just remember to be kind to yourself. Don't put yourself down because you missed something on your schedule that you had planned, right? Make sure that you're kind and forgiving to yourself, because if you're not going to be that person for yourself, if you're not going to be your number one supporter, you can't expect anyone else to do that for you.
But at the same time, I do feel like there's a bit of room for you to be very strict on yourself as well. Push yourself to those limits in terms of your life. When you go to the gym, you work as hard as you can, as you possibly can, and feel your body. That point where you feel like you may get injured, or when you're pushing yourself too hard, kind of become a bit more aware of your senses and your body and your life at the same time. So although you want to be kind to yourself and you want to give yourself a bit of leeway so you continue to push for your goals, you also got to understand, that a lot of people in today's day and age don't want to be in discomfort, and that's understandable. It's not great. It's not a good feeling at all. But through discomfort and through these challenges, you work towards your goal, and you really take steps towards the ultimate outcome of whatever your ideal version of life is. Everyone is going to have a different picture of where your life could end up. And we're not to say what's right and wrong. And no one is. Whether Andrew Tate is telling you that you need a Bugatti, maybe you don't want a Bugatti. And that's completely okay. But in order to get where you want to go, you are going to have to do certain things and put certain things in place and make certain sacrifices in order to get there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, definitely. I think at the end of the day, what I think we want to do and personally what I want to do for you guys that are watching this is to kind of tackle on these really confronting sort of thoughts and beliefs that are out there, right? Because oftentimes when you talk about these hard topics about trying to achieve something or, things that might not make you feel so great about yourself, it can be really difficult, and oftentimes when things are really difficult, we're just going to procrastinate and kind of push it aside. We're just going to swallow it down because at the end of the day, what most people are going to do is just whatever it takes to help you sleep at night, and we don't want you to just kind of overlook these challenges just because it's too hard. You have to face these challenges, just as Brandon said, to really grow and achieve something from it. Because it's, when you do these really difficult tasks, that's where the greatest reward's going to come from. And, even if you don't get the best outcome, you're going to develop these experiences, which are just going to become a part of your character. And it's going to give you an opportunity for you to learn from these sort of things, right? Failure is something that so many people want to try and avoid, but inevitably, it's something that is just a part of the journey of life. Everyone's going to fail at something. You have a look at, all the billionaires that are in the world, and, they've started companies, have gone broke and bankrupt, and they come back, better, stronger, and they just know so much more. They know what mistakes not to make, and, they know the better decisions to make in their life. So I think for the most part, I think for the podcast, I think moving forward, it's to, meld in hardstyle, and, hardstyle's great. I love the music still. Don't get me wrong. It, really motivates me in the gym. I think we're just looking at hardstyle for more than what it just is, to not just be about raves and partying, substances, those sort of things, but maybe to utilize it as a tool to, help inspire. So
that's a perfect way. Yeah. I also have come across recently exposure to certain things and putting yourself out there really allows you to build skills, really allows you to build understanding and perspective. And this is something that we've talked about previously in our other live streams as well. One of the biggest things that you can do is put yourself in not just uncomfortable positions, but even comfortable positions that you haven't been in before. And just by doing that, gradually you start to understand more about life. And we'll talk about this in later episodes as well. So, Project Gacked, we are back for the time being for however long, and we're just going to keep grinding away at it because, we've got a lot of things happening in our lives as well. And hopefully you'd be able to listen or watch into some of our content and really gain some good perspective from us adventuring out and doing, certain side quests, if you want to call it that. And, I just hope that you guys... Oh, okay. This is before we finish off.
Wait, I just thought about...
Okay,
yeah. Summarize this.
Yeah.
When we film these videos, it's not more so us trying to tell you what to do, when to take a shit. It's about contextualizing experience into a digestible conversation that people within the hardstyle community can understand and relate back to their life. How's that, voice?
Oh, damn. He's a literature major.
I didn't expect that from you.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Out of all the
that's
people,
not bad. I think that's pretty good.
Look, by no means are any of us like experts in our own fields. Right?
Hell no, bro. I'm dumb as rocks.
I'll be honest. I've made a lot of mistakes in my life, and I'm sure a lot of you would have as well. I think all we're just trying to do here is, to have you guys understand that we're just three regular blokes, right? We don't know everything about the world, but we know some of it. And I think we just want to share with you guys what our experiences are, what we've learned from them, and just to show you a different perspective that hopefully, whether you take it on board or not, it's just something for you to try and understand about someone else.
At the end of the day, we're still people, and we're humans, and we make mistakes, and we do certain things that maybe we're not proud of, and there's certain things that we do that we're really proud of. And I think that's just the general experience of being a human, and that's the best part of it, because those roller coasters, when it's bad, it makes you realize what is good, and when you have what is good, you realize what is bad. And I think that's the most awesome part of all of this stuff. Did you have something to say?
No, that's all. I only get one quote a week in my mind.
Yeah.
Oh wait, did you know that Italian guy? Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe. that's what it is, bro. That's what life is. Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe.
Yeah. And I think something that you can expect from Project Gacked as well is, where...
Oh, also with guests. We want to do the same thing with guests. We want to get guests on, not as frequently as we used to, but more so like once in a while to spice things up so that we get a fresh perspective, a fresh dough pisto on the table. Huh?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
But you can expect us to be back.
Yeah.
So Project Gacked is back for however long it is. And
Until we get bored.
Now you get a pretty good outline of maybe the content to expect as well. One thing that I've been able to think about throughout the time of our break, and I'm not sure if the boys have thought about it as much as I have, but I would say one person recently, when I was at the gym, they asked me, what do I train for? Why do I go to the gym? And at first, my first thought was, so I can bag e-baddies on Valorant. No, I was kidding. Nah, Eileen's going to kill me for that one. No, like at first, I just thought to look good. That's all I want from it. It's not to get stronger. It's just because I am insecure about the way that I look, and I've always thought of myself as not good looking, and I was always scared of my girlfriend leaving me at all times, no matter what kind of situation, because I was not confident in myself. And over the time, I got the chance to think about it. I work out because for my mental health. I work out because it gives me confidence. I work out because it makes me forcefully makes me disciplined in my life in a certain aspect, which also teaches me to be disciplined in other aspects of my life. I work out because the community and the people that I meet are super awesome. So I used that thought process, and I went to, why do I make content? Or why do we make content as Project Gacked? And I think ultimately we just want to make a good and positive impact to the audience, that whoever sees our videos at the end of the day. Because when I was younger, I really wish there was somebody out there who was extremely open about the certain things that were going on in their life and their problems. And maybe, as a guide, as some of the things that were happening in my life at that time, I didn't really have somebody like a mentor or any sort of content to look back on and learn from. So my objective with Project Gacked is to supply that to you guys by showing you and demonstrating my growth and our growth together as a team and as a small community, as to how we can navigate and really put a greater meaning and definition into our life. So yeah, that's why do I make content? It's for that exact reason. And I hope you guys really get to see a genuine and authentic side of what Project Gacked is meant to be.
We make content because we want to demonstrate the... I lost it.
Teach a man how to lift, and he'll lift for a month. Give a man body dysmorphia, and he'll lift for life.
Give a man one cap and he'll roll for 1 hour, but teach him how to make the imps and he will be forever happy. But yeah, Project Gacked's back, and we're so happy to be back. I hope you guys enjoyed this relatively long video. And if you sat all the way to the end, thank you so much. And if you've been supporting us, even though we haven't been active, thank you again. We're so eternally grateful. And we hope to see more of you and us grow together.
Hopefully we can get Lau on the pod. That'd be pretty cool.